Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. For this tutorial, I'm going to show you how you can make a big bang with a simple cake just by adding some buttercream texture, some edible gold leaf, and a pop of color with the green and the texture of the roses. So if this sounds interesting, we'll get right to it. First thing we need to do is get our cakes covered in buttercream. I'm using my Cresting American buttercream as I usually do. And I'm just, sometimes I pipe with a bag on first, and then sometimes I just go in and plop it on. And, when you level out your top, you're pushing that buttercream over the side, and then you can smooth it down to the side. Honestly, it just comes down to sometimes my mood. This seems to go a little faster for me, but I've been doing this for a long time. So in videos, I like to show you how to use a piping bag because you have a little bit more control. But you can do whatever method works best for you. And sometimes I prefer to use the bag because it helps if your buttercream gets a little bubbly. When you're pushing it through the hole in the piping bag, that can help eliminate some of those air bubbles. Now, you're not going to want to cut the hole so big that the air bubbles just pass through. You want to make sure that you're not, I would say about a 1/4 of an inch hole in the tip of the bag. Just little helpful hints, things I don't normally explain when I am putting buttercream on a cake. Now I have both of my tiers ready. There's a rough edge on both of them. What that means is I basically didn't smooth out the top. And then I marked out the 5-star or 5-point pattern that I like to use. Any kind of a star cutter is going to work. It's just going to show you the 5 points. Now, if your bottom tier, or if you're doing a taller tier than a 3-tier cake, I would probably go in with the regular plastic dowels, and then maybe go in with 3 or 4 of the bubble tea straws inside of that circle for extra support on your bottom tier. I'm just using this dowel to help me, it's actually just a skewer, to help me get my top tier on. Sometimes I'll do that when I haven't had time to let my top tier chill as long as I prefer. But if this happens, you can just go ahead and push that skewer all the way down, and I had sharpened the tip of it with a pencil sharpener. Cut it to a couple inches, maybe 2 inches, 1.5 inches, 2 inches below the surface of your top tier, and then fill in with buttercream. And then I am just caulking in between the tiers to eliminate that gap. Now my hands are clean and dry. This is another one of those cakes where I have to use my finger because I'm not going to be able to get a scraper in there. And now I'm just getting my buttercream ready to do the spatula technique. I'm just kind of like when you're doing palette knife flowers. I like to spread this on a board. It also helps to eliminate air bubbles again. And then instead of dipping your spatula into a bowl of buttercream, you're getting a smaller amount on the tip of your spatula. Just get a little on the tip there. Well, actually, sorry, back up. I am marking the diagonal lines. I like to have a floor plan figured out. I like to follow the lines. So if I put my line in there, just mark it in there, then I know where I'm applying the buttercream. And here, where I started was I just kind of scrape a little bit off onto the tip of the palette knife, and then I just apply it to the cake. I start at the bottom and then layer up your, I don't know if we're gonna call them petals. They're not really petals. Our strokes, or our palette knife strokes, I'm not sure what to call them, on top of each other as you go towards the top. And then I do the same for the top tier, but I go the other direction, keeping in mind where you're going to place your flowers. Because you don't want, how do I put it? You just have to, in your mind, have a visual where you want your flower placement while you are doing your buttercream texture. Otherwise, it might be a little askew from what you're planning. And then just do the same technique on the top. And then I set it in the refrigerator for a couple minutes. But then I bring it back out and I start applying my edible gold leaf, which of course I didn't catch all the footage of that, but you will see me do a little bit of it. Now I'm just using these loose leaves of the edible gold leaf. I'm using a fan brush, and I'm just kind of swiping it off of the paper and then just transferring it onto the cake. Now this cake had a little condensation on it because it sat out for a minute, and that's what's getting it to stick. Now I usually use the Barnabas Gold, but this brand is good too. I'm just not sure what it's called. Since this was for an order at work, I work with the supplies that my boss, supplies me. And this is what we had this time. Now you can do as much or as little of that as you want to. And then here I am trying to open up the rose. I didn't leave the stem long enough. I should have left it a little longer because when you spin it like that in your hands, it kind of forces the centrifugal forces, force those petals open a little bit. So they didn't open as much as I wanted them to by doing that, but I went back in and just kind of separated those petals with my fingers. Now I'm just using some floral tape to wrap around the stems to make them more food safe. There are other ways to do that. There is a product out there I keep meaning to try where it's like an edible wax, I think. And you actually dip it in that and it makes it food safe. But for now, I like to stick with the floral tape, and then I use buttercream. And I stick the flower in the buttercream. You could add straws if you want to. That works too. I just find it's a little more secure, and they don't move around as much if I actually put a dollop of buttercream and then stick the stem in that. I'm visualizing. I'm trying to remember where I wanted to put the flowers. Put plenty of buttercream on there, and then you just place the flowers where you think that they look the best. Then we're going to do another arrangement on the top. And I should say, if you haven't figured out already, those are fresh roses. This floral is fresh. And then I'm adding some greenery. I think that pop of greenery adds a little extra something to it, don't you? I mean, it's beautiful. The simple elegance of the white, the texture, and the gold is beautiful. But I think that green, it just needed a little something. And I think that's what did it. I'm trying to kind of get these at an angle. Sometimes you mess around for a while until you get them where you want them to go. But take your time. It all works out. And sometimes if you're having trouble visualizing and getting things to work out the way you want them to, take a minute, put it in the refrigerator, step back, get a fresh, go for a walk, whatever, have a snack, and then come back to it. Because you'll see things in a different light. Sometimes we're too on top of what we're doing to see it for what it truly is. And there you go, guys, all done. I love the simplicity of this, but it's such a wow factor, and I hope you liked it too. And I hope you got something from it. And if you do something similar, or anything you want me to see, just send me a message on Instagram, Sophisticakes by Mary. I love to see everything that you are doing. So thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch my video. And if you'd like to watch some other videos, go ahead and click on the link to one of these other videos shown here. And if you would like to check out my other social media, I am on Facebook and Instagram under the same name, Sophisticakes by Mary. And please take the time to share, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you know when I upload another video. Thank you so much, and we'll catch you on the next tutorial.